Live and we are on air. What's up, everybody? Dave, welcome to episode 44 of Bros Talking Soccer. We got Steve from the Soccer Tour here.
What's going on, everybody?
Yeah, and Christian and Matt are here as well. Christian, say hello.
Hello. I'm doing well, Dave. Thanks.
I'm not asking you how you're doing because every time you don't, give me shit for asking you again. Matt, how are you doing?
Doing well, Dave. Thanks for asking. How are you?
You're very dark.
Me?
Yes.
He gets
Yeah,
that
I
a
don't
lot.
get what's going on.
Perfect.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Hello.
Okay. We got a little bit of inception going on here.
I can
Okay.
hear Matt echoing. I can hear me echoing.
Hold up.
You're
I think
echoing?
That might be me. All right.
It may
talk
be
now.
us too because I usually have headphones.
I can hear everybody. Hello?
Not
Hello?
too good.
Hello? I don't hear. I'm not echoing anymore. Oh, yes, I am. There it is.
Matt, mute you.
Hello.
Yep.
You said
Hi.
mute
So
yourself.
Matt, mute yourself for a second. Anybody
Mute
watching
myself.
on YouTube, just bear with us, please. For
Hello, hello, hello. I don't hear it. It's Matt.
it's
Hello.
Matt echoing.
Boom.
Hello.
Sweet.
Hello.
Yeah, that's
Thank you very
you.
much.
Yeah, of course.
Oh, let me
Okay. All right, so we got a couple topics we're talking about here.
This
I'm just gonna roll with it. Oh, that's a cool picture,
is
man.
the first time it's
Thanks.
echoed. I
That's a
think.
very nice picture. All right. What in the hell, Christian? What is that?
That
a
Batman. Yes, it is.
Batman.
Yeah. Uh-oh. Okay, Matt, you good to go?
Do I sound better?
No.
Oh wow. Yeah. Oh, I just heard it.
But
It's echoing.
so maybe it
Hello.
is us.
A little
Hello.
bit of feedback.
I'm
Hold
not
up.
hearing any feedback on our side, so maybe it's us.
Christian,
I
say
don't
something.
hear.
Here, come on.
Oh, Matt is echoing a lot. I think it is you, Dave.
All right, you okay, Sharon?
Yeah,
Headphones? Is that
of
all right?
course, yeah.
All right. All right. Well, we'll put the headphones in and get going here. Left, and I think you went right.
The fuck, dude.
Perfect.
All right.
Whoa.
Is that better?
Well, fancy.
Yeah.
Hello.
Oh,
No.
no. We didn't.
No.
I need to put the speakers back here now.
Hello.
Oh,
There we
hello.
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 There we go.
Hello.
Any echo?
Yeah, no echo at all now.
There we
It's
go.
Dead
Yeah.
silent.
There we go. Awesome. All right.
We
Cool.
did it.
All right. Thank you, people of YouTube, for bearing with us here. I got on my brand new Sons of Ben scarf. Sons of Ben scarf of the month.
Hey,
club.
nice.
Yeah. I'm
A
excited
little bit
about
of
it.
plaid.
Yeah, a little bit of plaid,
I
a
like
little
it.
bit of intricate design, little checkered thing going on this side.
Okay.
Plaid. Excited.
Yeah.
All right.
It's unfortunate that Steve came to the game that he did.
Yeah, not a good result. We were talking about that the other day.
And now Fafa's playing every single game and playing well.
Yeah, we're talking about Fafa.
I'm proud of him. It's
Yeah.
a good rise.
I love him.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't blame you. He's a good dude.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're excited about the future. Christian, do you have a trivia question?
I do, actually.
Wow.
Oh,
Wow, I
hey,
saw your little
trivia.
stupid smirk, though, when you asked.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So you good to go? You have that up? Fuck. I did not.
Ooh, I have 1% battery.
That's good. You guys have your.
I also want to discuss Cavani rejecting his bonus if he
That was
gives up
incredible.
penalties to Neymar.
Yeah. I'm always down for when you guys have suggestions. So yeah, that's great.
I have
You
two
guys have-
trivia questions. I just don't know which one I want to use.
Pick one.
Do you want Luis Suarez
I-
or do you want Messi versus Ronaldo?
Steve, you have the honors.
Let's do Suarez. Why not?
All right.
Wait. What about him?
We don't know yet.
He's going to ask.
Oh. What's the answer?
All right. That's you guys have fan futsal game up.
Yeah, I do.
Christian, I'm sure you do.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Let's just
Well, I have
jump
my
into it.
trivia question up.
Okay. All right. You ready to jump into things?
Maybe. I'll think about it.
Okay. All right. What's up, everybody? Welcome to episode 44 of the Bros Talking Soccer podcast. As always, my name is Dave Knittel. I'm here with my brothers Christian and Matt to discuss stories from around the soccer world. Very special guest this week, Steve.
Very special.
Oh, yeah. From the Soccer Tour is with us. Steve, how you doing?
Good, you?
Doing well, man. Doing well. Happy to have you. We're hosting him in San Jose, so been hanging out, been having a lot of fun.
Yeah, sharing headphones.
Yeah,
sharing
headphones, getting up close and personal. So, Christian, how are you doing?
I'm doing just dandy, Dave. This weekend almost killed me between football and soccer games that I was watching, but I made it through, and all the results were positive. So that's all that matters.
I'm glad you survived, and always good to get some wins. Matt, how are you doing?
I'm doing well, Dave. Thanks for asking. I also had a great weekend with soccer and football with Penn State, the Eagles, and Man City all coming through for me.
Yeah, awesome.
And the Union, you meant.
Yeah.
And the Union.
Yeah, and the Union.
So we were actually just watching Arsenal earlier today, Steve being an Arsenal fan, so they got a win too.
2-0
So
win is good.
Everybody's getting wins. So lots of fun here. Christian, do you have our trivia question for this week?
Dave, I'm so glad that you asked. I do have a trivia question this week. Are you guys ready for it?
Yes.
This one's going to be about Luis Suarez this week.
Oh.
So he celebrated the fact that he has now played in 100 La Liga games since his move in 2014. Okay. He has scored 87 goals during that time. He has played against 25 teams. How many of those teams has he scored against?
Okay. All right. So we'll think over. We'll all ruminate. We'll let the listeners think about it as well. And at the end, we'll give our guesses.
Okay.
All right.
Sounds good to me.
Yeah, don't ruminate too hard, though.
Okay. All right. We won't. We'll promise. Real quick, before we get to our topics, let me give a quick plug for Fan Futsal. So I'm the founder of Fan Futsal, fantasy soccer website. We're simplifying fantasy soccer, make it easier for people to play. Select 5 clubs instead of 8 to 11 individual players. Only scoring elements are goals scored, goals conceded, and the result of the match. So only need to follow match scores. Have the major European and North American leagues. Check it out. Like if you like soccer, which if you're listening to the podcast, I have a feeling you may like soccer. So really simple to check out and to play. So give that a look, fanfutsal.com. With that, let's get into our topics for this week. And first one right off the bat, MLS playoffs. We're getting to the end of the season, and MLS playoffs we've talked about a bunch on the podcast recently, but there's apparently a proposed change that may take effect next year in that they may shorten the playoffs to 3 weeks, single elimination games. So what do you think about that? I know we've talked about the podcast, Christian, or we've talked on the podcast about the playoff structure. What do you think about this potential change of single elimination games only lasting 3 weeks then?
I'm not a fan of that. I think that's pretty much how not every sport does it, but there's a lot of sports that – no, actually, there's only one sport that does that, isn't there?
Basically American football.
Okay. I really am not a fan of that. I think it's fair to have a home and away game. All these teams they've been working all season, and I feel like the fans have been supporting their teams all season. They deserve to get a game to watch. And I think it's a big deal for a lot of these teams to have home games in the playoffs. That is kind of what American sports are for. They all love playoffs. That's what you really look forward to from the start of the season.
But you don't think that it cheapens the regular season? So the team that did better in the regular season earned the right to host the playoff match. You don't think that's
they get the second leg. That's the advantage that they get for doing that.
Okay, fair enough. Steve, any thoughts on potential change?
It's just tough with the international break. That really complicates it. So I'm not a fan of a long playoff structure, and I'm not a fan of taking a break in the middle of it. So I don't know how you fix that, but you don't want to lose interest and you don't want to lose that momentum. So good luck to whoever figures that out. Yeah,
and that's actually a good point. So for this idea, what they're saying and proposing is extending the regular season up until the international break. The international break, everybody goes away, and then the playoff starts after that, and it goes to 3 weeks. So they're trying to address what you're saying. My personal opinion is go the other way with it, which I've said. But let's bring that in before we get to my thoughts here. Matt, what do you think about the proposed change?
Yeah, I like that they wouldn't be taking a break in the middle of the playoffs. I think that's kind of something that we all agree that isn't beneficial to the products of the playoffs. The one thing that I think would be a benefit to the single elimination, kind of like March Madness, is like anybody can win, not necessarily the best team wins. And from like a spectator's point of view, sometimes that's more entertaining. But I think just from the spectators that could be beneficial, and maybe the ratings. But I think for the soccer aspect, the two legs is going to be the better team's going to more than likely win.
How can you compare it to March Madness? Because that's in neutral zones. I think the home and away is so huge in soccer specifically.
All right. Well, I mean, I hate to bring up football, but yeah, football is like that too.
Yeah, I agree.
You have
that's true.
Just the home team there.
Yeah, I mean, I personally don't mind this idea. I mean, you play a really long regular season, and going to a single elimination kind of, gives the advantage to a team that is hosting the leg. Now, what apparently was thrown out is that I think every home match owners make $1 million or something like that. So that's a sizable chunk of revenue that owners are going to have to give up, and they'll have to make up for it in TV money. I've said since the beginning, I'd like a combination of these two, have single elimination, but then have the playoffs run up into conference finals right before the international break. Then you have that 2 weeks of the international break, build up sort of momentum, and then you have your final, the Black Friday, right after the international break, right after Thanksgiving. So that's what I've said.
You just love
I love Black Friday. I love Black Friday. All right? The match, the MLS Cup final should be on Black Friday.
Why not Thanksgiving? I guess football's on Thanksgiving.
Football, nothing is on Black Friday. I know you don't get off or whatever, but most people either get off or take off. I think that they should make it afternoon Black Friday.
I think it should be a night on Black Friday.
I don't know about soccer on Black Friday.
No?
I mean,
are you a shopper?
No, not at all. I hate Black Friday.
Yeah. Would you like to sit at home and watch MLS Cup?
Maybe, but again, it goes back to that issue of I think you lose momentum if you have any games after the international break. It should all be before, or it should all be after. But then you run into complications with weather and parts of the country getting really, really cold. So it's a very complicated issue.
Yeah.
I'm sorry to jump in, but I think that if you have all of it before the international break, your players are going to be tired for the international break. And when it's World Cup qualifiers like these ones that are coming up that matter more than the friendlies, then it is a big difference. You can't lose those players for that either.
Yeah, but the November international break generally doesn't have World Cup qualifiers. Usually,
my bad. I forgot.
Yeah, at least in World Cup.
I was thinking it was this one coming up.
Yeah.
It's not. That was just stupid.
You're wrong.
That was. Yeah. I'm just gonna go, guys.
Yeah, bye. Thanks for coming, Christian. All right, so let's keep this thing moving along. Stick in U.S. soccer, but let's talk about NASL. And so, we've talked about the NASL CAS lawsuit that's going on between the Miami FC owner and Dennis Crowley, who owns Stockade FC. So in addition to that, there has been a more recent lawsuit filed by the NASL against U.S. soccer. Basically, this most recent lawsuit is trying to get them to remain Division II, and then if they can't remain Division II, they're basically saying, let's do away with the divisional structure, and USSF doesn't have the right to assign divisions, and it should just be free-for-all, open market, and let the market decide. So, Steve, why don't we go to you? I know you have a little bit of experience or knowledge in this area.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think about this lawsuit? Do you think that they have a legitimate case here, or do you think that it's kind of just they're grasping at straws?
Yeah, I think they're grasping at straws. I think it comes across as petty. I think it comes across as kind of desperate. And I don't think any of this would be an issue if they were running a responsible business. At the end of the day, that's what it is. I love the NASL. I come from the NASL.
Mm-hmm.
I work for the NASL. But it's really hard to defend them these past few years. They haven't done a good job. So we'll see what comes of the lawsuit. I'm not optimistic about it, but maybe that's what's best for U.S. soccer,
Yeah. Yeah. And so do you have any sort of, so within the case, they're alleging that there's some sort of collusion between USSF, MLS, USL, and some, and the collusion there is that collusion. Yeah. The collusion there is that U.S. soccer holds media rights to a lot of those properties, and they sell them through some, and MLS is affiliated with some, and so it's all kind of intertwined. So, I mean, from that standpoint, I think they have a legitimate case from a collusion standpoint.
No, I think they do. I think that's absolutely right. There's no denying the partnership between MLS and SUM and U.S. Soccer. But it's tough to take that claim seriously when they can't operate their business the way they should. So whether or not there is a claim there, I think it's gonna take more from them to show people that there's a legitimate argument there.
Yeah, that they deserve D2. Matt, what are your thoughts on this whole situation?
Yeah, so my question that came to my head after reading this was, like, do they have a legitimate case? I didn't really find out an answer to that, but I think it's interesting that I guess they because there's no promotion and TV rights go mainly to the MLS, it's hard for them thrive in American soccer. So I think from just that, like, little bit of knowledge I had from just that paragraph, I started siding with them, but I don't know the whole I don't know the whole story behind it.
Started siding with NASL.
Yeah, but I don't know, like, how much.
Okay, so everything you're basing on is on a paragraph. Okay, but that's fine. Okay, so you're in NASL's camp, which I like. Christian, what about you? What are your thoughts on this situation?
Well, to be honest with you, I didn't even read the paragraph, so
everybody's very prepared. I appreciate that.
But just from what you guys were saying, I really don't know what their case is right now. I can't really figure it out from what you guys were saying. What on earth are they suing for? Do you know?
Yeah, so they're suing, like I said, they're suing to remain Division II. So USSF has said that NASL hasn't met Division II standards, so they're relegating them to Division III. Now, USL, which is the other Division II in America, also does not meet all of the requirements, but USSF is giving USL basically Division II exemptions, whereas NASL isn't getting those exemptions. Now, there's a lot of reasons for that, but at a broad level, that's what's happening.
Okay. Sorry, just forget what I was going to say there.
Okay. So,
sorry, you said basically. You've been struggling with all your words. I don't know how to.
Okay.
Okay. So back to the topics. I just think that they have to accept where they're being put right now. That's just how it is. They're restructuring all of U.S. soccer. They took everything into account, and that's where they fall. That's the level of quality that they have. That's where they have to be professional about where they're being put. I don't really pay attention to what's happening below MLS. I really don't know.
Okay.
But anytime I hear anything about it, it just seems like, okay, whatever. Like, nobody really cares about what's happening down there, and they have to come up with.
Hold on a minute.
Yeah.
But they have to come up with something. Like, U.S. soccer and these divisions have to come up with something to promote themselves and get themselves in the spotlight.
Yeah, so I think that your world is very much MLS and European focused, which a lot of people's are, but there are tons of markets out there that aren't served by MLS teams and that have support and things like that. And so there are NASL clubs that are run very well and that have a ton of fans and things like that. And there are some that have struggled. Now, from a league perspective, they've approached running their league very, very differently than MLS or USL, with giving the owners a lot more, opportunities to do things independently. And the problem with that is that you have owners who want very different things. And so I think a lot of times there isn't a unified sort of structure in how everybody's approaching, how they're running their business, how they're trying to grow, and how they're trying to grow the league. And so from that standpoint, I think NASL, because they're so fractured in how they're approaching things, and the fact that they don't have a ton of forward momentum. You see a lot of organizations struggling and things like that. USL self-relegated Division III, made themselves stronger, and came back, and now they have so much forward momentum. I know NASL doesn't want to take this step back, but in the long run, it may not be the worst decision to kind of regroup, take a step back to D3 if they can, if the owners don't bolt. I don't think it'd be the worst thing in the world from my perspective.
But
Steve?
can they – sorry.
No, go ahead, Christian.
Go ahead.
If they do take that step down, do they have the ability to step up again later?
Yeah, USSL.
Is that how it works?
potentially it's about meeting the requirements for Division II sanctioning. I mean, my take is I don't know if many of the owners are interested in D3, especially the Cosmos owner and chairman of the NASL, Rocco Commisso. So we'll see. I mean, going to all of these lower division teams, it is kind of like the Wild West out there, and I think they do have legitimate gripes with how the system is set up, and a lot of the teams that have forward momentum are the ones that are pushing a case for Major League Soccer, and some of the teams that don't have that outlet, some of the ones that know that they're never going to be a major league city, are struggling year to year with that uncertainty. So, me personally, I don't know if the divisions mean all that much, or if there's much difference between the leagues, but I do think we need to see some restructuring, and we need to see better, maybe just management by U.S. Soccer to make sure that these teams have secure futures.
So let me say it this way. So if NASL were to, for whatever reason, go away, and we had MLS Division 1, USL Division 2, the new Peter Wilt, Division 3, or the USL D3, and we had a more sort of like, it just sort of seems like NASL just is trying to, not that they're trying to stir things up, and whereas everyone else seems to be marching along the same path. So if they were to go away and things were, people seem to be more aligned, do you think that would be good or not?
I think you've got a real split in the direction that soccer is taking in this country. And you've got like a path to pro model, which is kind of like MLS is at the top, and below that, each team is going to have their USL affiliate, and below that, they might have a PDL affiliate. And in that model, there really isn't room for an independent club model like the NASL is pushing for, like Peter Wilt's NISA, and even the NPSL. So you kind of have two different models. One is path to pro. The other is more like a promotion relegation thing. And I think we're just starting to see that those things really aren't compatible with each other. And, some of these leagues might not have a place in one way or the other. So it'll be interesting to see how it shapes out. I know a lot of people are for ProRel. I know a lot of people are very against it, or maybe feel that we're not quite ready for it. And we might not be, but it's definitely a conversation that we're starting to have now, given the lawsuit with Dennis Crowley and Miami FC, given that NISA wants to implement that. So, I still think the NASL might have a role to play in that, or at least right now, just if nothing comes of a lawsuit, at the very least we're talking about it. We're becoming more aware of what's going on in the lower divisions, and I think that's a good thing for soccer as a whole.
Yeah, and from my perspective, I think it's really important to have those independent clubs. So the ones that aren't just USL affiliated and MLS and all that, I think that they bring a lot of interesting ideas, and I think anybody challenging the status quo is going to lead to progress. Matt, anything else you want to add on this topic?
How do you think this? What's that face for? You're excited.
You actually are adding something. I'm shocked.
Yeah. So, do you think ProRel is a better option than what we have now, or do you think, or even another option, do you think the baseball farmer system? Do you think our development could thrive in something like a farmer program where a team owns their own minor league teams and you promote through within a single organization?
Steve, do you want to?
Yeah, I think both have their merits. I think for me personally, I prefer more of an independent model. I think it's harder to, soccer is a little bit more tribal than baseball, right? So baseball, you don't mind going to see the farm team because at the end of the day, you're a fan of the major league team and you want to see these guys before they become the stars that they are. I don't think soccer works like that. I think there's more of a tribal identity to it, and you'd rather not, be under that parent team. You want to fight against them and stake your claim for your city or whatever it might be. So I don't know. I think MLS really seems to feel that the reserve team model is the way to go, and you develop guys up through the system like that. And for developing players, they might be right, but I think for developing fan bases and an interest in the game, I think independent clubs are the way to go. And right now, it is kind of difficult to see any real prospects for some of these teams. The incentives aren't there to invest if you're in the lower divisions, and without incentives there's no growth, and without growth I think we feel those effects at the top. So I really think we need to work on getting the lower divisions stabilized, and there should be incentives for them to invest and grow. And I think not having promotion relegation really puts this restriction on just the level that U.S. clubs can compete at with domestic sports here, but also with the international game, where we've, we're certainly far behind the Premier League, the Bundesliga, La Liga, and I think a lot of that has to do with the restrictions that we put on our clubs.
Well said. Well said, Christian.
The thing I would say in reference to the farmer club idea versus independent is I feel that in soccer, more than any other sport, when you're 16 or 17, you're almost ready to get in there and be at that top level. Most other sports, your body is not ready. You're just not ready for the sport, and you didn't develop all the technical or physical traits that you need to compete at that top level. In soccer, you are, and you need to be thrown into the deep end and be competing at the top level, in my opinion, when you're at that age. The farmer system would hurt that. It's almost the way college is right now. It hurts you when you're at that age. Well, I know it helps you in one way, but I think it does stunt your progress. And we're not seeing enough players at 16, 17, 18-year-olds coming through MLS.
Wouldn't the farmer system be better for that? Because if they could just call them up from a farm system. Matt, what were you going to say? Sorry.
Well, I was going to say, like, I'm trying to think of the other sport younger guys go in. Like basketball, you can go pro at 19, and they have the G League now, or the D League, which is now the G League. I think that farm system works like pretty well by going like they are part of the NBA team, and it's easy to go back and forth between. So I think it's giving more people a shot at the top level.
Yeah, and I think both systems have their merits. I think the most critical thing, and what I think we all want to see, is a better domestic product, better players, and the U.S. national team competing on a higher level. And so I think it can be achieved in both ways. I think with the farm system, the thing that is most critical, I don't think, I think Pro Rel could be a very interesting concept. I don't think it's absolutely necessary to develop world-class players. Training compensation and solidarity payments are the biggest things I think that would lead to better players, because then you're giving smaller clubs, small town teams incentive to develop better players so that they are sold on or move to a bigger club. And even if they leave for free from a youth team, until they're 23, every time that they move, that club receives training compensation, right? Or that team receives solidarity payments. And every time that they move throughout their career, that club receives money and so on and so forth. Whereas right now in America, FC Dallas developed the Weston McKennie, and he went through their whole academy system, became a great player. He's getting minutes in Schalke right now. They're not getting any sort of money. And FC Dallas is a big MLS club. They can deal with that. If I am, whether it's FC Delco in the Philly area or Continental or whatever the heck they're called now, or any of the smaller clubs that are developing players, don't have the backing of these big teams and MLS squads and all of that, they have to charge players for money. They charge these kids, and so they're going to take a kid who maybe, can afford it over a player who may be more talented who can't afford it. And, that's just sad, and that's why, we're not seeing the development that we're seeing. And so while I'm not opposed to Pro Rel, I don't think that that's the silver bullet. I think the training compensation and solidarity payments are the silver bullet from my perspective. Okay. All right, let's. That was a great discussion. We were going to talk about Real Madrid. You guys want to talk about what's going on at Real Madrid?
Nah. Everybody does. They're just shit.
Me neither. Yeah, they're struggling, but not really interesting. I'm sure they'll get things fixed, but they have dug themselves a massive hole. So with that, let's go to our first break here. You're going to hear some music, and then when we come back, we're going to talk real quick about our fan futsal games from this past weekend. Stick around. All right. So anyone watching on YouTube, we are just taking a little break here. That is not right. That is Combo Euro. Steve, how's everything going? How you feeling?
Good, yeah.
Yeah.
A little sip of water.
Yeah, no. Take a little break here. Christian, Matt, anything you want to ask?
No.
No. Everything good? You have your fan futsal lineups up?
I'm getting it now.
Okay. Let me know when you got it. Thank you,
Yay.
Matt, for being prepared. All right. And then what are we doing this weekend? We're doing La Liga this weekend. Okay. All right. You ready, Christian?
Sorry.
Focus.
I heard yelling.
Okay. Everything good?
Noises.
Yeah.
All right. Cool. You got your fan futsal stuff up?
No.
But he does have the sticker on his phone.
He does have the sticker on his phone, which is good. Boom.
Boom.
Hey, Steve, what's on the back of your phone?
Credit card.
Jack has it on the back of his.
Starbucks card.
Jack's got it on his too. Cool. He does have a sticker. I did give Steve a sticker.
And I had the shirt yesterday.
And he was promoting. He was repping the shirt. I got the shirt on now.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. All right.
Oh my God! Wait, who won this week?
Yeah, you won. Okay.
Oh my God! No way.
Okay, yeah, that's so great. We're all very happy for you.
Good job, Christian.
Yeah. All right, ready?
You also won, Dave, with your fake profile.
Hey, we don't know who that is. That could be anybody. All right. You ready?
I'm ready.
Okay. Welcome back, everyone, to segment 2. We're going to talk about our fan futsal game from this past weekend. We did a combo Euro game where you could select clubs from any of the 5 European leagues. And unfortunately for everybody here, Christian ended up coming in first out of the brothers with 102 points. I came second overall with 85. And Matt came in third with 56 points. We weren't able to get Steve involved, but Steve, hopefully just bear with us through this little discussion. You're going to have to hear Christian gloat. So, Christian, you have the honors. Go ahead.
Guys, I need to throw this out there really quick. This is the Combo Euro League. This just means I know more in general about soccer than all of you. I think that's really what it comes down to in the end. And so I'm just going to teach you a lesson about how it works. This is how the game works.
Talk us through your lineup.
So we get the 5 positions, and this week I went with the 1-3 formation because I just was feeling the goals. I knew they were going to be pounded in this week. And so I went with Man City, who are up against the worst team in Premier League history. Yeah. I don't understand why they're that bad. They're really not that bad with the quality of players they have, but I knew what was going to happen, and it happened. Man City scored 5 goals, gave up none. Doesn't matter if they gave up any, but it felt like even more of a moral victory at that point. Roma scored 3 as well up front, and Bayer Leverkusen also with 3 goals. I really spread the love in all the divisions this week. I didn't go with La Liga, actually. I went with 2 from Serie A. Okay. But you never know what could happen. And even though my defense lost 1-0, who was Metz, to Troyes, as we learned last week.
Very good pronunciation. Very fancy.
They lost 1-0. My attacking power and my goalkeeper, Crotone, did not give up any goals and won pretty much the best possible week he could have other than the goalkeeper, getting over 100 points for who knows how many times now. I just keep banging in those goals and scoring points every week. So I don't know.
Very happy for you.
Yeah, over 100 points again. Okay. This is how it is.
All right. Yep, that's fantastic. So I came in second, so I'll go real quick. I also went with the 1-3 formation, thought that there was going to be a ton of goals, and there were, but my downfall was not selecting Man City. Went with Liverpool instead. So still put up a decent amount of points, but not nearly as much as Christian. So I had Arsenal goalkeeper, 2-0 win, exactly what you want from a goalkeeper, and had Olympique Lyon at defense, 3-3. Not exactly what you want from a defense. I mean, gave me 7 points, but probably should have had them further up the field. Striker went Liverpool, Everton, Napoli. Combined, they had 8 goals between them. Put up a ton of points, but ultimately fell short of Christian. Matt, what about you? You ended up in third out of us with 56 points. So things did not go well for you. What happened here?
Yeah, I just got my positions a little messed up. My teams actually performed pretty well. None of my teams lost. Liverpool 3-2. I had them at defense. I've had them at striker. I didn't think Leicester were going to score.
Assume everybody is going to score at least
against Liverpool.
Yeah. I mean, Mignolet could have done better for both of those. So, okay, whatever. Ignoring that.
But he didn't.
Yeah, I know. So Red Bull Leipzig, 2-1 win. I was pretty happy with that. I had them at striker. Wish they would have maybe like 1 more goal and I would have been set. But 2-1 victory. Can't really complain about that. Marseille, best performer, 2-0 at defense. I was pretty happy about that. And then my goalie at 1-1. I mean, as best as you can get, but 1-1 still fair result. So I think I just had my positions wrong. Still happy with my team. I'm proud of them.
Okay. You're proud of them, even though Christian almost doubled you up. But that was still, still good. You'll try better this upcoming weekend. So
Dave,
for anyone,
Dave, don't try and compare him to me. It's going to be okay.
Okay.
He'll rebound better next week.
Okay. All right. So speaking of next week, we are going to be doing La Liga this upcoming weekend. So we'll be playing with Spanish teams. So check that out. Look for it on the site, fanfutsal.com. The game name will be Bros Talking Soccer Liga. And, try to beat us. My username is dknits11. Christian's is cknittel12. Matt's is mpk8110. So look for us. Good luck. And with that, we're going to go to one more musical break, and we will be back with our final segment. Stick around. Okay. You guys still good?
Yep.
Yeah. We're all happy for you. Nice dance
I'm
there.
so happy. You know what? Actually, I should just wear my medal.
Yeah, there you go. There you go.
I'm the sport champion.
Yeah, we see. Is it for soccer? Or what is
vague.
it? Yeah.
We won our co-ed soccer league.
Okay.
It's like the medal it's like a participation trophy.
Yeah, they just say sports.
Sports
they don't
league.
even give you.
Well, I think it's better because I won all of the sports.
Yeah, clearly.
That's not.
Yeah.
That's not.
Can
That's
you
how
guys
that works.
Can you guys hear Henry?
Yes, I can.
A little bit. He's not too bad. I've definitely heard worse.
At your apartment.
All right.
You're on mute.
Yeah, I
think he
know.
knows
'cause
that.
I think
Oh, okay. I thought you were talking to us.
All right.
Did anyone
You,
watch the Hanover versus Köln game?
No, I saw
Okay.
a couple highlights, and I saw it ended 0-0. Why?
1 second.
I thought it was really entertaining. I'm shocked it ended 0-0. I stopped watching in like the 80th minute, but there were a lot of chances in that game.
Okay. Cool. That's what you want from a 0-0 game.
Yeah. I mean, you don't really want a 0-0 game, but if you got to get one, that's the one you want.
Hopefully it's an exciting one. Yeah. All right. Looks like Matt's back. He's got on my groomsman
Wedding.
shirt. Yeah. Nice.
We got
Yes.
those like right around the corner from where he's at.
Did we? Oh, yeah. Where I gave them to you. That's not where we
Yeah.
ordered them from. All right. Anyways.
I
all right. We
understood.
good?
Yeah. Obviously.
Matt, you good?
Yeah.
Okay. Welcome back, listeners, to our third and final segment here. And let's talk about Carlos Tevez and some of his recent comments he made about Chinese soccer. So Tevez has had an interesting time in playing in the Chinese Super League. And he's only has about 13 matches. He's the highest paid player in the world. He's had some injuries, been rehabbing in Argentina, very uncommitted to the cause. And some of his recent comments were, even in 50 years, China will be nowhere near a good soccer nation. So those were the comments that he made. Matt, upon hearing this, does he have a point that it's not within their cultural DNA, or is this just him being short-sighted and not really understanding what's going on there?
Well, I think that 50 years is a bit absurd because so much can happen in that time. But I don't know much about China before the recent years of pumping all the money into the domestic league. So I don't know how much they've actually improved over that time. Have they? Just like a quick.
So not particularly, but I mean, they're investing billions of dollars into youth development. And so that's not just going to happen. They're not just going to get magically better within 5 years. I think Steve and I were talking a little bit about this the other day, and you were saying how like recess, they don't even have anymore, right?
Yeah, I was lucky. I got to go to China twice last year. We spent a lot of time with Shandong Luneng, and it's just evident to see how much money they're putting into the facilities. I mean, some of our coaches had worked at the biggest clubs in Brazil, and they'd gone to Barcelona and Real Madrid, and they compared those Chinese facilities. They said these are as good as we've seen anywhere. So the money they're putting in now, I don't think they'll see those effects for a long time. Maybe certainly not 50 years, but they are growing. And for him to make those comments, I don't understand them. And I mean, he's not even playing well, so who is he to criticize the level of play there? I don't know.
Yeah, exactly. It's very short-sighted of him.
Yeah. Okay. So just continue on that. Yeah, because he has performed poorly, I feel like he's more, just like upset with the whole league in general. What did he have, like 3 goals in those like
something
13
like that.
games?
It might only be 2. I don't know.
Yeah.
Not good.
Yeah. So I think like that's something that's probably irking him. And didn't the owner or somebody call him out of shape?
Yeah.
So I think that's just something that probably just put him over the edge to say these comments.
So you think these are more just emotional rather than something that he actually believes?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, Christian, what are your thoughts on his comments here?
This is just Tevez being Tevez. This is just so typical of him. After what he did at City, where he refused to come off the bench, he just has that attitude about him. You knew he was going to say stuff like this. This is why people don't ask him any questions anymore. He has a point that maybe they're not at the top level, and he doesn't like being there, obviously, but he likes collecting the paycheck that they're giving him. He was a very, very, very talented player in his day. He only lasted a couple years at that level because of his attitude and because of his lack of work ethic. But he probably does have a point. He's in China. He's seeing how it all is going down. And I don't think it's going to be 50 years. He's exaggerating that. But just from what we've seen from China forever, really, in soccer, they aren't anywhere near any of the powerhouses and developing any of these top players. That's just how we've always seen it. And he's there now and seeing it.
Yeah, and so number one, Tevez likes to burn bridges. So he's like, he goes scorched earth everywhere that he is. And so there's really no turning back with him. But to your second point, we haven't seen the level of investment and caring that's been poured in over the recent years. The Chinese president is a massive soccer fan, and he's devoted a ton of resources into the game. And so that's why, when we were talking about before, there's a huge sort of grassroots sort of movement happening in China, and whether that continues will determine whether they can be successful over the next 20 to 30 years. China's very, very different politically, where if a new leader comes in and he doesn't have the same commitment to soccer, all those resources can kind of evaporate, and it isn't really sewn into the culture yet. So I think it's going to be dependent on that. But for him to say even within 50 years there's no way they could be a world power is frankly idiotic, because so much can happen. And if they keep committing the resources that they're committing, hell yeah, they're going to be significantly better.
They have
and potentially
the population.
Exactly.
They have the population, they have the economy, and they're building the infrastructure. So, and even the businesses have huge incentive to invest in soccer. So, like you said, it really depends on the direction politically that the country takes. But I think they have all the ingredients to become a success. Certainly in Asia, where the competition might not be as high, but I think they have the ingredients.
Absolutely.
It's racist.
What are the sports that are like the biggest over there?
So specifically in China, I think it's a lot more individual-based sports. So whether it's ping pong or even like instrumental type things that aren't even necessarily competition, gymnastics.
Like
it's much more individual-based rather than collective sort of team sports there, which is interesting.
Do they play tennis?
A communist country.
Are they good at tennis? I don't really know.
They like badminton. Is a big one.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I did actually.
They have a cool hacky sack type game that they play as well, which is kind of cool. And
not bad at basketball.
No, they like basketball.
Yeah. NBA China has a huge presence over there, and they definitely have. Yao did a lot for Chinese basketball, and that sort of continued into the future. So, I mean, if they can get a breakout star in soccer, I think you may see something similar, because they clearly have the support. You hear about Real Madrid and Barcelona have ridiculous fan clubs. I have a guy that I know out here that has some relationships with those clubs, and he just talks about you're talking about millions and millions and tens of millions of fans just within that country of specific clubs. So, all of the ingredients are there, and it's just a matter of time and continued commitment to them. So it's gonna be interesting to see what happens. With that, let's move over to Europe, but let's talk about an American moving to Europe in February. And so Josh Sargent, a 17-year-old forward for the U.S. national team, played starter at the U20 World Cup, even though he's actually a year cycle younger. And the U17 World Cup in India is coming up, so he's on that roster. Recently signed with Werder Bremen in the Bundesliga, and there was apparently interest from Bayern, from Dortmund, I think a couple other bigger clubs, but he ultimately went with Werder, who he had some relationships with prior to kind of him blowing up. And so, Christian, what do you make of him signing with Werder, who maybe isn't at the top of the Bundesliga? Would Sargent have been better going for a bigger club? Should he have signed for an American club first? What do you think about him going overseas, and taking this risk?
That's where Cherundolo was, correct?
No, he was at Hanover.
Hanover, damn.
Cherundolo.
Okay, well, regardless, Werder Bremen, they are notorious for just kind of hanging around in the Bundesliga. I think over the past couple of years, they kind of fell off, and they've been promoted and relegated a couple of times. But, right?
I don't think they've been relegated.
No.
Yeah, I don't
Are
think
you
they've been
sure?
relegated.
They
Yeah, I
won
think you may be thinking of Stuttgart.
Yeah, they've always been pretty good.
Yeah, they have been struggling recently. I'll
I
give you
knew
that,
they
but
were
I don't
struggling.
think
I really
they
thought they went
got
down and then
relegated.
came back up. But okay, I'm wrong. Okay, I accept it. Whatever. So, regardless, they are not a top tier. Gonna challenge for the title. Gonna challenge for Champions League spots right now. They're just not. And I think that a lot of these American players need to be at these teams that are in the top divisions, and they're playing at the highest level, but they aren't on those top teams. So they are actually going to be able to get minutes.
So they'll get a chance.
Like we saw, like Julian Green at Bayern never got his chance. Pulisic is a whole different story. He's a freak of an athlete at 18 years old. And I hope to God he stays healthy and continues to progress the way he is. But I think that it's a huge deal that these players are getting an opportunity to play in the Bundesliga, one of the most entertaining, one of the most highly recognized soccer leagues in the world. And he's probably going to get his chance.
Yeah. And one of the best at developing youth, too. That's what the Bundesliga is. So, Steve, do you have an opinion on him going to the Bundesliga rather than, SKC, Sporting Kansas City, had his MLS rights. He could have potentially played in MLS versus going overseas. Do you have any thoughts on him?
No, I think it's a good move. I think there's a reluctancy to play younger players in MLS. And so, he's obviously a huge talent. Culturally, maybe Germany isn't that dissimilar from the U.S., so he should be able to adapt. And I think, moving to a mid-table team as opposed to a bigger team, more likelihood he'll actually play. So, all around, I think it's a good move. And if he performs well, it's a stepping stone.
Absolutely. Matt, what about you? Any thoughts on this potential move?
Yeah, I like that he's
not
going
potential. It's happening.
Yeah, I like that he's going to the Bundesliga. I know a lot of players, especially in recent years, Americans going over there to develop. So I think that's something that's going to be positive, hopefully for his development. Does he have any senior appearances yet?
No, no senior caps for the U.S. team.
Okay. No, I meant for club too. He's not on any.
No.
Okay.
No, and that's what I was going to bring up. But finish your point, and then I'll go.
Yeah. So I'm just, I guess, worried that if he hasn't been established in a senior team, and how different the level of physicality is from the youth to the next senior level. I guess if he hasn't proven himself there, that's the only thing I have to worry about. But just overview, I think going to Werder is going to be good for him.
Yeah, he's clearly incredibly talented, and he's played up some age groups, and so physically I think he can compete. Now, taking a step from U20 up to U23s and up to senior level is going to be very different. The thing, and I think it's a great move, him going over there. The only thing that's been interesting is he hasn't really had a club team for the last year or two, like officially, and at the very least, he hasn't had an affiliated kind of pro club team. And so he's going on a lot of trials, and he's playing with some of the youth teams and things like that. But I don't know if he would have been better served, signing, whether it's a 1-year contract the same way Haji Wright did,
with the Cosmos,
the Cosmos, where if he would have signed a USL contract and played against pros for a year, he's kind of had this, he's 17, which is a critical development year.
Definitely.
And he's kind of had this weird sort of year where he hasn't really played for anybody and hasn't been challenging himself, at least as far as I know, with like a consistent sort of club environment. So the only potential downfall I see is that kind of had this gap year and then him transitioning into more of a club environment.
Yeah.
I could see that potentially being an issue, and maybe would have liked to have seen something a little bit different on that front.
Isn't that exactly what Pulisic did?
No, Pulisic went to Dortmund when he was
15,
16.
Yeah, he was young.
As soon as he got his Czech passport, he went over there, and so he was at the U17 academy, and as soon as basically that academy period ended, he got his Czechoslovakian passport through his or Czech Republic. I guess Czechoslovakia technically doesn't exist, but he got his Czech passport through his grandparents, and he could sign with Dortmund because he had an EU passport at 16 rather than having to wait to 18. Yeah. So he moved over at 16 and never had this weird sort of gap year at this critical sort of developmental time period.
Yeah, and the interesting thing for me, at least, is his youth club team, St. Louis Scott Gallagher, actually shares the complex with the pro team there, the USL team, St. Louis FC. Yeah, so it's kind of confusing because you would imagine a guy who's in that crucial phase of his development that he should be playing club level, and if he is good enough to go to Werder Bremen, he probably is good enough to play in USL at age 17. So I really wonder what that says about maybe the rules in acquiring young players in MLS or USL, or if the level of play isn't good enough for him to even consider playing in USL, and he'd rather wait and try it in Europe.
Yeah,
so,
maybe it wasn't worth the risk.
Yeah, I don't know, but it's certainly interesting.
Yeah, wish him well, definitely, and I'm definitely going to be following his progress.
I think he's pretty desperate to get into FIFA as soon as possible.
That's probably what he's basically. Speaking of talented young American players, let's close with our final topic here that I had. I know we had some others that we may throw out, but Golden Boy nominations came out, and as funny of a name as that is a legit award awarded to, I believe, the best U23 or U21 U21 players in Europe or the world.
No, Europe.
In Europe, and so. Yeah. You know, we exchanged some text messages earlier this week, but basically the favorites to win the award, or the top 5, I would say, is Kylian Mbappe, Gabriel Jesus, Ousmane Dembele, there's Christian Pulisic, and there's one I'm forgetting, which is, I'm an idiot for forgetting. Who's the 5th guy? Whatever. We'll just let it slide.
Donnarumma or someone?
No, not Donnarumma. I can't remember who the 5th one was that I was thinking. Donnarumma? No, it wasn't Donnarumma. It was an outfield player. But we're getting hung up on not what I want to get hung up on. Christian, you had some interesting thoughts on it, and that you think that there's no way anybody else could possibly win the award. So since you have such a strong opinion,
wait, it's Marcus Rashford is who you're thinking
Rashford,
of.
yeah, Rashford is the other one that I was thinking of. So those 5. So since you have such strong opinions on this particular thing, why don't you talk about why, who you think's going to win?
Well, I just want to start by saying I don't really have strong opinions. I don't think that's me. I don't really think that I'm like that.
Yeah, you never have strong opinions on anything. That's right.
I really don't think that there's any chance anyone else is going to win it this year. I think it's hands down going to be Mbappe. Not that I think he's the most talented of all the people that are up for that, but I think that he has done the most and made the biggest impact, both internationally and for Monaco, and got a big money move to one of the best teams in the world now, where he's scoring and part of an incredible trio up front. I just think he has made more of an impact than any other player. And regardless of what anybody else does at this point, I think it's already decided.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah. Matt, any counterpoints to that?
Yeah, so when we first started talking about this, when the list first came out, when Christian said, "Oh, this is such a clear race," I actually had to think about who he was talking about, of how clear of a race this was. Dembele had an incredible year at Dortmund. His stats, if you looked at him last year, are almost comparable with Neymar, with the exception of goals scored. Neymar is much more clinical in front of the net, or much more polished now in his career than Dembele is. But assist numbers, crosses, dribbles, chances created, they were almost hand in hand. I think Dembele had an incredible year last year. And if anything, where you're on the same level as Neymar, I think that's saying something. For, what was he, 19 last year? Yeah,
he was 19, just turned 20. Or he's turning 20.
And another player, Donnarumma, who may have been AC Milan's best player. He may be AC Milan's best player. He keeps them in so many games. I think he's going to be the best goalie in the world, and he's incredible right now already. So I feel like he's another guy that could win the award, and playing for such a big club like AC Milan out. And I know that they're struggling in their expectations as of recently, but it's still a big club with a huge fan base.
Okay. Steve, any thoughts on any of these players? Or
yeah, just first off, how cool is it that we're talking about an American player in the same breath as some of these other guys? I think I'll probably agree with Christian. I think Mbappe is going to take it, but at the end of the day, sometimes it's also a popularity contest, and a guy like that who lit it up in Champions League and then earns a huge move. He's taken all the headlines. But yeah, Pulisic has been incredible. 19 years old to see all that he's done. And again, it's just an amazing thing that we have an American player even up for an award like this, and potentially a legitimate contender. So if it were me, I'd say he's probably top 5. I don't think he's going to win it, but it's really cool. So
absolutely. And so I basically break this into 2 tiers. So I think the 5 contenders that I said are who I've already said, and there's two different tiers. So I think Mbappe, Dembele, and Gabriel Jesus, who we haven't really talked about, but he's had an incredible impact for Man City. They're in kind of their own tier there, but Pulisic and Rashford.
And Brazil.
What?
And
Brazil, exactly. He's a starting center striker for Brazil as well at 20 years old, 21. But then you have Rashford and Pulisic, I think just a step below. Pulisic suffers a little bit from being on the same club as Dembele, and Dembele's stats were just better. So I think
it's going to hurt him also that he's American, regardless of that he is. It's going to hurt him.
I don't know. A lot of people say that, but he's getting the respect and the recognition he deserves. You read everything, or you
by
hear
us,
about,
I think, not by everybody.
In Dortmund. No. You hear about in Germany, they're incredibly excited about him and getting a ton of press. His coach is certainly talking him up. And at the end
his
of the
manager
day,
thinks he's the best.
Yeah, his manager.
Can you believe that?
Yeah, I know.
My mom
crazy.
thinks I'm cool.
Yeah, exactly. But I mean, there's still 3 months left, so this award goes through the end of the year. So people, Dembele is going to be hurt because he's physically hurt. So his chances, I think, are skewed by that. If Jesus keeps putting up the numbers that he does and, keeps getting tons of goals and City is running away with things, I think you can make a legitimate case for him being a contender with Mbappe. That's my perspective. I don't think it's just clear cut, Christian. When you were texting, you were just like, this is stupid. We shouldn't even talk about it on the podcast.
I didn't say that.
You said that. You said it's not even worth discussing. And Matt and I were
meant
both
that in like oh, come on. I meant like in a sarcastic way. But at the same time, it's obvious who's going to win.
Yeah.
So
I don't think it is.
Where do you rank Donnarumma, Dave?
So Donnarumma, I think goalkeepers are so tough. Like I don't see any way him winning this award. Like at the end of the day, they don't get the recognition that they deserve, and I think he would probably be in the same tier as Rashford and Pulisic. But it's so tough to compare outfield versus goalkeepers.
Yes.
But he's probably in that next tier. Do you not? You think he's legit contender
Matt
to win?
thinks he's the best.
What?
You think he's number one on that list?
I think you could make an argument. Like if he was going to be transferred, he would have gone for Mbappe money.
No, he wouldn't.
Not that much.
No, he would not have.
No, he wouldn't.
He would have been after the summer, after it started spending.
Still a goalkeeper. I don't even know if he would have gone for 100 million euros. I don't think he would have gone for 100 million euros.
Wasn't it being reported as like 100? I thought it was like 140.
By who? Who's reporting that? Is his agent?
Did the
That's
Sun?
just what I was reading.
Were you reading the Sun?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. So there's no way he would have moved for over 100 million. At the end of the day, he's a 18, 19-year-old goalkeeper. Still a lot of room to grow, but he's still a little bit raw. Yes, he's a very good player, but the attacking talents naturally are worth more than a goalkeeper would ever be worth. And so, there's no way he would have gone for that amount of money. So, for me, that's kind of what I think. But to Steve's point, it's freaking awesome that we have a 19-year-old American who just turned 19 legitimately in these conversations. So it's really exciting.
Yeah.
And,
I mean, he could technically win it next year too. You never know.
Yeah, he could win it next year. And
or the year after.
Yeah, and there's still 3 months left in this year. And, he's already got 2 goals in the Bundesliga. I don't know how many assists, and he's playing tons of minutes. So, he could make a better case and jump up into that first tier from my perspective.
I mean, especially with Ousmane Dembele out for the year.
Yeah. Yeah, so it's exciting, really awesome things to follow. So that's all we had from a topics perspective. Christian, anything else you wanted to talk about?
I just wanted to say I thought it was funny that Cavani rejected his bonus put into his contract that said Neymar will take the penalties. He said, I don't want that bonus. I still want the penalties. That's just hysterical.
Okay.
This is never going to end.
So to provide a little bit of clarity, who may have no idea what the hell Christian's talking about, apparently Cavani has a clause in his contract where if he is the top goal scorer, he gets €1 million bonus. There was that drama last week that we talked about on the podcast between Cavani and Neymar. And apparently there was a report that PSG tried to insert a new clause into the contract where he would get €1 million if he let Neymar take the penalties, and apparently has rejected that, and so there's a little bit more drama. So for anyone who may not know what the heck Christian's talking about, that's what he's talking about. Matt?
Bleacher Report posted Man City could reportedly make a world record offer of 150 million.
Okay. For Donnarumma?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you for that.
Bleacher
Okay,
Report.
you're right. Okay.
Good old Bleacher Report.
Good old Bleacher Report. Steve,
Pinnacle of journalism.
Anything else you want to mention? Do you want to plug the soccer tour a little bit?
Yeah, I'm just traveling around the country, almost done. And it's cool, back in, was it March? We sat down and did something similar, and to be doing it again is cool.
Yeah.
And shame I have to look at Christian, but...
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it was a whole week before. You only got to deal with it for an hour this time.
Yeah, but we're happy to have you. Been following your journey the whole way. It's been really, really cool. Anyone out there listening, definitely check out, is it The Soccer Tour?
Soccer Tour.
Yeah, thesoccertour.com. Steve's got a ton of really interesting, cool content, traveling around the country, American soccer focus. It's awesome. So definitely check it out. Support him. I know we all are. I don't have anything else to mention. Christian, you want to recap our trivia question? We'll all give our answers.
Yeah, my trivia question pertains to Luis Suarez, who celebrated his 100th La Liga game this week. He has scored 87 goals in that time and played against 25 opponents. How many of those opponents did he score against?
Okay. Who wants to go first? Steve, do you want to go first?
I'm going to say 22.
Okay. Matt?
21.
Okay. I was going to say 21 too, so I'll go with what did you? I'm going to say 24 just to be I'm going to say 24.
Wow. David.
Bold.
Good work.
Oh, look at that. So he scored against 24 out of the 25?
24 out of 25 teams he's faced.
Who hasn't he scored against?
I actually don't know that.
Okay, well, to be prepared. All right.
You would ask
with that
question.
Listeners, we almost made it through without a curse word. With that, listeners, thank you for tuning in. If you want to check out any of the stories or topics we talked about on this episode, we'll have them in the podcast show notes, and we'll also tweet them out from our Twitter handle, which is @BTSoccerPod. If you want to get in contact with us, our email is bros.talking.soccer@gmail.com. Everything was sponsored by FanFutsal. Check that out, FanFutsal.com. With that, Steve, I want to thank you very much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Of course, man. Hang out the rest of the week. Excited to spend some more time with you. Christian and Matt, thank you guys for being here as always. Listeners, thank you for being here, and we will talk to you next week. See you, everyone. Bye.
See ya.
All right, fun fact for the YouTubers.
Okay.
It was on the same screen that I saw the Suarez thing.
Okay.
Do you guys know who is the second leading goal scorer on Barcelona right now?
In their history or this season?
No, just this season, behind Messi.
They're all tied for one, right?
They have 3 goals. Own goals is the second.
Oh, yeah, because they have 2 own goals this weekend. Yeah. DC United situation.
Ugh, fuck that team.
Okay. All right. With that, YouTubers, we're going to cut off the broadcast there. Thanks for watching. We'll talk to you next week.